Okay, this is our third video for tissues. Up till now, we've had epithelium, and we know that epithelials come in all shapes and sizes and stacked, and then also simple single layers. Our second set were the connective tissues. Connective tissues, don't forget, have three parts to them. They obviously are made of cells, but then you've also got the ground substance, which is found between the cells, and then the fibers. And there were three types of fibers that we had. The collagen, which was the tough one, the elastic fiber, which is the one that allowed things to stretch, and then the reticular fibers, which were the ones that sort of that mesh holding things together. Okay, so my last two tissues today, we're going to start with the nervous tissue. We're going to do nervous, and then we're going to do muscular. So when it comes to the nervous tissue, the only tissue that I'm showing here at the moment are the neurons. So neurons are branched, and they have long cellular processes, and that's what you can see here. So here's my cell body, also known as a soma, and you can see that we've got these long branches coming off, and you can see over here we've got several branches. Most of these look more like this, where they've got multiple branches coming off of the soma or the cell body. Now, when it comes to the neuron, these are there to transmit the electrical signal, and they transmit from your sensory receptors. So like your eyes for sight, or your ears for hearing, or your skin from touch. So your sensory receptors to the effectors. So they're either transmitting to the brain, or in certain situations, you're going the other way. You're starting at the brain, and you're transmitting out to either a muscle or a gland. And so we transmit that electrical signal. The signal is actually transmitted on the cell membrane. It's not down deep inside of this thing. It's all on the outside, on the surface, the membrane. So neurons like this are found in the brain and spinal cord. That's the central nervous system. And then what we call the peripheral nervous system. And the peripheral nervous system are all your nerves outside of your brain and the spinal cord. The whole idea here is we're controlling all the activities in your body. Now, even though this is nervous tissue and the only cell that we talked about, the neuron, doesn't mean that's the only cells that are out there. You have other supporting cells that aren't being illustrated here. Many other cells that are in your brain, and then several that are in your peripheral nerves. Now, there is one right here. This is a Schwann cell. This is in the peripheral nervous system. You see that's a cell that's actually wrapping your neuron itself. It's a Schwann cell if it's in your peripheral nervous system. It's an oligodendrocyte, and you'll need to know this when we get into the nervous tissue, but right now it's just an overview. But an oligodendrocyte does the same thing, except it's in the central nervous system. In your brain, you've got what are called astrocytes. Astrocytes are there to hold these things up and guide the direction of this axon. That's the part of the neuron here. The axon guides it to where it needs to go. So when we learn something new, it's the astrocytes that are guiding these connections, so that we have all these different connections in our brain. Okay, there are many other cells within the nervous system, and we'll get to those when we study the central nervous system and, well, just the nervous tissue in general. Okay. My last set of tissues, and there's three of them here, we're going to talk about muscle tissues. Now, this one you're first looking at, this is skeletal muscle. So you can see that they're looking at your tricep here on the back of your arm. When it comes to these cells, you can see that they're really long and cylindrical. Make sure I get that right. The cool thing about it is you see all the dots up here. It makes it look like nuclei, a lot of nuclei. Like there's a lot of different cells here. Actually, this is all just one big cell, okay? But they're called multinucleate. For skeletal muscle like this, they are multinucleate. They have multiple nuclei. Now, not everything you're looking at here is a nucleus. Sometimes you're looking at a mitochondria. And hopefully you remember from biology that the mitochondria is where we generate ATPase through phosphorylation. So that gives us energy for this cell. Later, we'll see how we use that ATP within that muscle cell, and it should make some sense to you. When it comes to the skeletal muscle tissue, this initiates and controls all your voluntary movements. So you're in charge of this muscle. And that seems strange because we do so many things without even thinking about it. But in the end, we are in control of our skeletal muscle. So we find skeletal muscle then attached to bones, and sometimes it's attached to skin. Okay, so that is my skeletal muscle. My next muscle, that's cardiac. You can tell it's cardiac because, oh, let's go back. Take a look. This is skeletal. It's also known as striated muscle, and it's striated because you see all these striations in here. But the thing is, you don't have any branches going off. Everything's just long and skinny with the striations going across. When it comes to cardiac, look, once again, we're striated, aren't we? You can see the stripes going across, but also you get these big dark lines going across, and you see this is branched. That's how you can tell the difference between skeletal and cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle is branched, and it is striated. It's uninucleate, so there's only one nucleus for each of these cells. Now, these cells are interlocking they're called intercalated disc. That's what you're looking at right there. So you're looking at two cells coming together there, and they're connected, okay? Now, the purpose of cardiac muscle obviously is found in the walls of your heart. So it's there to propel blood into the circulatory system and move blood throughout your body. You're not going to find cardiac muscle anywhere else other than in the heart. This is smooth muscle. And to me, smooth muscle, if you look at this, it looks like stratified squamous, doesn't it? Those look like flat cells. Smooth muscle is difficult to find under the microscope, but we're going to try and to differentiate. It helps knowing what you're looking at for the organ and where to find this. But they're said to be in sheets with spindle-shaped cells because they're long and skinny. There is one central nuclei within the middle of each of the cells, and you can tell from my picture here there's no striations. Now, since these smooth muscles are found in my digestive viscera, you can see my organs here, the purpose is for substances to move along these internal passageways. In other words, peristalsis. So you're going to find smooth muscle in the walls of hollow organs. You're also going to find it in the walls of all your blood vessels, all the way down. You stop getting smooth muscle when you hit capillaries with your blood vessels, but then you pick it back up when you hit veins. You also find smooth muscle in the tubes when you're breathing, so in your bronchi that go into your lungs. So smooth muscle is really there to help move substances through these tubes. Okay, that is the rest of tissues. That ends this chapter, so I'm going to stop my video here.